Good morning, everyone. This is Arthur, Maria, and Matti from Delta E. Welcome to this ConnexDome public webinar. Today's webinar, we will talk about the security side of the market. Feel free to ask questions at any point. Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to let us know what you think about this during the webinar and after the webinar. We will also follow up with you afterwards to see what your thoughts are. And if you need a copy of the slide, this will be made available to you afterwards. There will be also a link to YouTube to watch again and share this webinar with your colleagues. So just to get started, why really did we look at the security side of the ConnexDome market? You may think that Delta EE is an energy research and consulting, but the more we looked at the ConnexDome space, the more we thought we need to understand what's happening outside the energy space, because there could be lots of influence from different stakeholders in that market. Therefore, we looked recently at what the telcos are doing and the impact on the energy. We looked at what the technology giants like Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. are doing, and what would be the impact on the market. And lastly, we looked at the security markets in two parts, one on security products, two on security services. So this graph here shows the volumes, the number of customers acquired every year from the connected home security market, which can either be just products bought in the retail or actually security companies getting new subscribers to their offering. And we already have around more than 1 million customers generated every year in Europe from security, which is quite high actually. So, and we forecasted that to grow quite significantly in the next few years. But the interesting thing is when we compare that to our energy research. In our energy research, we mostly look at products like smart thermostats, connected valve controls, smart plugs, lighting, all the sorts of products that relate to energy. And we have been doing that for a few years, so we have quite good numbers here. And you can see the orange bar is slightly higher than security, but not that much higher. So what we really try to understand is the relation between energy and security. One, between energy customers who might want to add security devices to that portfolio, or second, security customers who have cameras, smoke detectors, a subscription for monitored security. And what do they do if they want to buy energy products? Do they go to a different channel, or do they use their security company, etc.? So these are the sort of things we were wondering, and to analyze the overall impact on the market. So just to introduce ourselves here on the webinar today, it's myself, Arthur Juanic, Senior Analyst at Delta EE. I have overall responsibility for digital area in Delta, which includes the ConnexDome service. Matti, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, my name is Matti Kaula. I manage the Connect Home research service and carried out a lot of this research, and will be presenting you some of the results today.
Hello, good morning. I'm Maria Sinodi, and I'm an analyst for the digital cluster in Delta, and I'm carrying out research for connected home and customer data analytics.
And finally, you can see not on the webinar today, but the other members of the team in Delta who either occasionally help or ongoingly help with the research here. So we are a growing team, and we have lots of resources to really research that market. So I've mentioned that before, but on the software we're using for the webinar, you can either raise your hand using the blue and yellow button, in which case we will get a notification, and if we have time, we will allow you to ask a question directly on the webinar. Or you can also write down your question, and then we will answer that whenever we can during the webinar or after the webinar as well. So the more you can ask, the better for us, the more we want you to be engaged with us on this. So some of you may already know Delta, but some of you might not already know. So just to give you a brief introduction on the sort of things we do in Delta. So we are a research and consulting company really helping clients navigate the transformation of the energy system. And the past energy system was really based on centralized generation, commodity sales, and where the value was captured really upstream. Now the energy system is changing fast towards more distributed, low carbon generation. It's more customer centric, it's more service oriented, and making use of digital solutions and basically really looking at where the value is downstream. So we see our role as helping those we work navigate this transformation of the energy system. And obviously digital is a big part of that. The kind of clients we work for, first group is the service providers, mostly around energy, but this is growing on the back of our digital research, more towards telcos and insurance companies. We also work for lots of the technology manufacturers, the HVAC manufacturers, the smart home manufacturers, and other technology manufacturers in the world. And finally, we have another category, another organizations we work for, such as policymakers, policy shapers, association, investors, etc. So in Delta, we are divided in several clusters, and one of them is the digital energy research, which we three are part of the team. And these are the services that are included in that cluster. Obviously, the Connect Home service, but also the business model service, which looks at understanding the upcoming business models from startups and more established companies and the impact that will have on the energy market. And the customer data analytics service, which tries to understand the value from the data and what companies can actually do with that. So more looking at, again, the value and the business models rather than technology. We are also doing more work around digital, which is maybe slightly away from directly from the home, but more on microgrids and flexibility / demand response. So we are carrying currently multi-cloud studies, which are available to be bought. In terms of the Connect Home service, we are now clearer on how we define ourselves there in three main areas. One being the Connect Home energy, home automation, which is where we really come from. So everything from smart thermostats, connected valves, plugs, lights, etc. Then we have our research around home energy management, so more understanding how to optimize the energy at home, because in the future we will have solar PV, EVs, battery systems, etc. So how do we use connectivity to optimize the self-consumption and really be independent from the grid? And finally, we look more at other verticals like security, like we are talking about today. So that includes products like cameras, smoke detectors, door locks, but also the service providers who are really involved in this. So in this webinar, first we will be looking at the key findings and why we looked at the security market. And in the core research, we will look first at the retail side of the market, what's happening in the shops, online, etc. Then we will look at what's being offered from security companies who are moving from their traditional business to a more IP connected home side of the market. And we will give our views on the future of this and how we think security will somehow influence the home automation, the home energy management, and generally the energy side of the Connect Home market. And finally, we'll give you a brief overview of the next step of the service around the Connect Home. So I will hand over to Matti for this now.
Thank you, Arthur. So Arthur mentioned there are a few reasons already why we started looking at this topic and the interest between the interaction between energy and security verticals. But one of the key things is that security companies and security products are already leading the connected home space in the US. So in the US market, there's already a lot of these players like Alarm.com, Vivint, both have more than 1 million customers. Vivint is also very active in, they have a side business of where they install solar PV, actually are the second largest solar PV installer in the US. And then of course the telcos, Comcast and AT&T, who will really be pushing this market forward in the US. So it's a natural question to ask, could this or something similar happen in Europe? Secondly, we know that the security market, the professionally monitored security market and the retail side is growing across Europe. There are these large security providers, big players like Verisure, EPS, Sector Alarm. Are these companies, these security providers, professional security providers, also looking to move into home automation and also potentially disrupt the connected home, wider connected home market, but also potentially the energy space? Thirdly, there are several service providers, especially telcos, already offering security solutions in the market. So these include the likes of Orange, Movistar, O2. These are mostly of the self-monitoring kind of variety, but could these guys, these players also have an impact on the wider connected home market? So these were kind of the main questions that led us to this research. And so what did we find? The key findings is that the connected security market, it's already gaining traction in the European retail side of the market. So products like Canary, Netatmo, Nest, these companies are already getting significant volumes in some of the key European markets like the UK. The connected cameras and smoke detectors, these are generally the leading products in this segment. So for instance, the Canary all-in-one camera or the Nest smoke detector are already amongst the best connected home products, overall selling connected home products in some key markets in Europe. So these are not marginal products, but these are already competing in sales with some of the biggest smart thermostat players, for instance. But thirdly, the professional security providers, they're not really yet committed to the wider home automation market, because as we mentioned, the security market in Europe is growing, and these companies are currently focusing on expanding that core business, and later on we'll explain a bit more why that is. And then finally, we also see some new security business models that actually could kind of disrupt this dynamic we laid out before there. So for example, an interesting product category are these all-in-one security products like the ones I mentioned before in Canary, but also companies like Piper, who have a really interesting product, and we'll discuss that a bit more later on, how that could potentially disrupt the not just the security part, but the wider connected home market.
Thanks, Mathieu. And we already have a question from Fabian, who is asking, it would be interesting to know how you define leading the market, and do we have any data on the percentage of connected devices in the security category versus other categories? The answer is yes. So what we have done in Delta was for the last few years to track product by product, manufacturer by manufacturer, market by market, channel by channel, the sales of connected heating controls like smart thermostats, radiator valves, and through the different research we have done, we are expanding that to security devices like cameras, smoke detectors, connected door locks, sensors, etc. So we have a massive database of sales of these products by channel, by manufacturer, etc. And that allows us to compare really the different size of the market. And the last thing we did also is to review the size of the security market, the professional security market, to understand how much of the replacement is coming from connected devices and how many new customers are being acquired with new connected devices. And that deep research allows us to compare these two verticals, which are security and energy. So moving on with Maria, we will talk a bit more about the retail side of the security market and with the research we did over there.
Yeah, thanks, Arthur. So looking at the resale side of things, we can see the market becoming more and more crowded in terms of the number of products available. And we see either big players and small players have connected home offerings, which means the competition is really, really high at the moment. So for our analysis, we define two product categories based on functionalities, design, and pricing. So the first category includes what we call high-end products, which is products that offer additional functionalities that could be face recognition like the Netatmo camera does, or integrated sensors such as humidity sensors and temperature sensors like Piper and Canary do. And these products are mainly available in the retail for an upfront cost, and most of the times they're used by the end user for self-monitoring purposes. On the other hand, there's a second category with products that offer all the typical and main functionalities. These products are relatively cheaper compared to the high-end products, and they have a more traditional looking design. These products, of course, can be found in the retail, but it's quite common to use as OEM products from service providers such as telcos and security companies. So telcos and security companies are offering these products. Actually, they subsidize the upfront cost of these products, and most of the time they offer them with additional services such as professional monitoring. And also there's another product category, what we call hybrid products. And basically hybrid products are devices that integrate one or two products. So it could be a camera with a smoke detector or a smoke detector with an LED bulb. Later, Matti will explain more about all-in-one products and basically all-in-one cameras.
And what's really interesting to note, thanks Mara for the summary, but we don't want to say one product is better than the other, but I think the strategy between the two types of players in the blue and purple is really different. Some are really looking at branding, customer appeal, and some are looking at B2B channels, and that's one of the trends we found out today. And today it's almost 50-50 in terms of penetration in the market, which is quite interesting. But maybe perhaps in the future, as the market is more customer-led and more products available in retail, perhaps we will see more and more companies moving towards the high-end connected devices in security, so that their brand is raised among customers, and the sales will grow from that.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Arthur. So on the next slide, we're looking basically on the size of this market, and the graph that follows is focusing on the annual sales of three main product categories, which is connected cameras, connected smoke detectors, and connected door locks. And we estimated the sales by country and by channel. So in the x-axis, it's actually the volume sales by year, so for 2016 basically, and the x-axis is giving is the top 5 players in terms of countries, so UK, Denmark, France, Spain, and Italy. And for our estimation, we grouped two main sale channels. So the yellow bar is a professional channel, all the sales coming from professional channels, which is basically service providers, while the blue bar on the top is all sales coming from retail, either online or high street retail. So the first part is looking on the sales for connected cameras, which is quite interesting that the UK is leading the space. And basically we can see the connected camera sales be close to sales of smart thermostats, and Canary is the main brand dominating the space in the UK. This is basically because the UK was the first European launch for the brand. Canary is a US product, and this launch was supported with really strong marketing and advertising. And while you can see for the other countries, most of the sales are coming from the professional sector, for Canary and sometimes for Netat more, retail has the higher sales. Yeah, so the second best-selling product is the connected smoke detectors. As you can see, Nest is pretty much dominating the space for each of these 5 countries. Smoke detectors has a simpler and easier use case. People are well aware of these products. They are already using them. They know their benefits, so they really appreciate the benefits of these products, and they're more likely to replace traditional ones with connected ones. Where is quite important is like that smoke detectors, they have an easy installation, and their cost is relative low. Another interesting trend that we see for smoke detector is that these products are gaining more and more interest from other service providers, such as insurance companies. For example, in the UK, we see John Lewis Home Insurance offering the Nest thermostat for free with its premium bundle, security bundle.
And actually, that is a trend that we see coming from the US, because there are a few insurance companies already there looking to who have already started to sell or offer for free connected smoke detectors in exchange for a lower premium, or to acquire customers more easily. So we can see the insurance industry is thinking about how can they create value from connected home, and one of the things is to reduce the risk. So obviously, smoke and water are two of the main risks generated from the home. So water leak sensors and smoke detectors are one of the key products that they are looking to offer.
And I think also part of the success of the smoke detectors is that the use case for these products, it's quite obvious to consumers. So it's really easy to communicate why a connected smoke detector would be a beneficial product for you. So instead of just having an audible alarm, you'd actually get notifications that would be able to react quickly. And for instance, yourself call the fire department straight away if there is an issue. So I think that's part of the success in the retail channel, comes from the really simple and easy to understand use case.
And we have a few questions coming up. So in terms of evaluation of the market, first, can you please give a definition of professional sales channels again? So yes, so professional sales channels mean either telcos or security companies offering a professionally monitored security service. So for example, as a customer, I'm buying a set of devices from, let's say, Verisure, and I'm paying 40, 50 euros a month for having this professional monitored security system. So they will provide monitoring, they will provide intervention, they will provide lots of things. So our report actually analyzes exactly what these companies are offering. But basically, as a customer, I'm almost not buying the products. I'm just subscribing to their offering, and they can subsidize devices, which is why it's important to compare that to the retail. And when you go to retail, you just simply buy the product without any service. Another question, asking how we generate this data, and are we reliant on security and energy companies providing their volumes, or do we do similar to retail research companies who are getting the data from the retail? So in other way, how do we gather all this data? So in terms of smart thermostats and connected heating controls, everything related to energy, we know the market very well. We know the market players extremely well. So while some players don't report the numbers, we are able to estimate based on our experience, based on interviews with energy companies, HVAC manufacturers, and players who are willing to share the data. We are able to estimate really the size of the market by player, by channel, etc. One thing we are looking to do actually right now is to provide a syndicated sales data gathering where every player of the market participating will provide the data in an anonymous way, and we will aggregate this to provide reports back to the market by country, product type, sales channels, etc. But obviously for some products like security, where we are less advanced, we have had to interview some of the security companies, we have had to interview some of the technology manufacturers, and to rely on looking at, for example, Amazon sales or app downloads, number of reviews, all this sort of things. So it's really a feeling for the market that then has been verified by other industry players. So I hope that answered the question.
Thanks, Arthur. So the last product we looked at is the connected door locks. As you can see, it's a quite small market at the moment, and it's a niche market in general, and there are few barriers related to the development of this market. First of all, there's a lot of uncertainty around the maturity of these products. They're relatively new products, and most of connected door locks are coming from the US, which means actually two things. First of all, a really high cost, and then there's a lot of concerns around installation requirements. Different countries have specific installation requirements with different door setups. So this makes the uptake of these products more difficult. And of course, the price at the moment is quite high, and most of the customers are requiring for a professional installation, which means an even higher cost. And what we can see, however, what we saw in the CES event earlier this year, where Delta attended, one of the highlights was the Vivint partnership with Airbnb. So Vivint is offering connected door locks for Airbnb properties. We're well aware that this trend might be a few years away from the European market, but however, we believe that this will help increase awareness for this kind of products and probably drive the cost lower in the future years. Arthur, do you have anything to add on this?
No, I think I agree with your analysis, and what's really interesting when you look at all the smart door locks manufacturers is they are all battling on functionalities and the way to interact with the product. So some will say Bluetooth is the way, some will say Wi-Fi, some will say fingerprint recognition, some will say you need a physical keypad to unlock it. So there are lots of things happening, and I think the industry will figure out the best way to do that in the future. So it might take a few years to mature, but we really think that's a big use case. I mean, once this product is out, I will definitely buy one for myself. And finally, we also reviewed products like connected leak sensors, and there's actually one or two products that are quite interesting in the market, like what HomeServe and LeakBot has done, and also the acquisition of British Gas of a leak detector company. So I will hand over to Matti for the next part of the webinar.
So yeah, one product we've referred to a few times are the all-in-one cameras as a kind of an interesting product in the market. As we mentioned already, Canary is doing already really well in the UK, and another product, for example, is the Piper all-in-one camera. So what we want to do in this slide is show what is the focus of these all-in-one camera providers. So what are their strategic focus mostly? So on the graph there, on the y-axis, we have the focus level going from low to high, and then on the x-axis we have different focus areas that these companies are emphasizing. So first, the key part for these companies is basically selling their products, getting the penetration, the install base of these products as high as possible, so they can create the market and create the awareness for these products. And this is currently in Europe. This is almost predominantly done through retail channels. So these companies haven't yet established big partnerships in the European market, unlike in the US, where these companies these products are available from quite a few service providers. So this in the future, I think we will see some B2B partnerships emerging as well in the European market. Then the second two focus areas around more interaction with the wider home automation or energy management part of it. So with energy management, we mean interaction with for instance, smart heating controls or these kind of products, and with the home automation bits, for instance, different smart sensors or automated shutters, for instance, which are a big thing in some markets. And if these companies are able to get that penetration first, so get the sales of these products and the install base, then adding this kind of wider interaction, of course, is a natural next step. And for all the connected home service providers and providers in Europe, this is quite an interesting area to keep an eye on. Is integrating Canaries or Pipers into your platform something you should be considering? I think definitely that is something you should at least be keeping an eye on the market and how these products develop. And then finally, the one aspect is offering professional monitoring. So while these products don't offer this functionality today, some of the products, like for example Piper, they've been designed from the start to have functionality and for instance the protocols that would be compatible with security regulation and be compatible with adding professional monitoring later on. And so when we look at how this market might change in the future, this could become a much more grown and a larger focus for these companies, as the revenues that could be made through the additional subscription services, or professional monitoring subscription services, could be quite significant. And what the interesting disruption here could be that these products, like let's say a Piper, they could offer a totally different business model to the regular professionally monitored security offered by, for example, big players like Verisure. They could, for instance, do pay-as-you-go type of services where you would only buy a monitoring service when you go off on a holiday or a weekend trip. And you could buy these small security monitoring packages, for instance, and these kind of things. And these could have quite a big impact on the security market.
Yeah, and also just to add, because we all often relate to energy, and of course the interaction with devices in the home is important, but it's also the fact that these devices are integrating a lot of sensors like temperature, humidity, etc. And therefore having the millions of products in European homes could have an impact on offering small services to utilities. For example, we know that a company, I think it's Orange in France, who had a partnership with EDF and saying that using the data, the temperature data from the smoke detector was sold to EDF or given to EDF as a partnership for them to use that data for better customer engagement. So you can see lots of impact that these sort of devices could have in the home if they have the right sensors and the right penetration.
Yes, and then kind of moving now from the all-in-one products to the wider professionally monitored security market in Europe. So on the graph there, on the map there, we show the penetration, range of penetration of security in different European markets. And even from first glance, you can see there's very large variability in the penetration of monitored security in Europe. So in some markets like Germany, we are under the 3% range, whereas the Nordics, which are leading the professionally monitored space, they have penetrations above 10%, even quite a bit more higher than that for instance, in Norway, which is the leading market in Europe. And when we look at some of the key players in the Nordic market, Sector Alarm is the leading player in Norway. Then Verisure is also very big in the other Nordic countries. And then companies like ADT is significant in the UK, and Prosegur, for instance, is a big player in the southern part of Europe. One of the kind of key bits here is that it's quite interesting to notice, like, for instance, that Germany has very low penetration of professionally monitored security, and there's some reasons behind this. One is that the market is very fragmented, so there's loads of small security providers, but there are no big players with significant market power that could really drive the market forward, for instance, with large marketing campaigns or really pushing these products to market or raising awareness of these products. But also with professionally monitored security, we notice there's a big impact on the community aspect. For instance, in Germany, people don't think they need these products because none of their neighbors have professionally monitored security. So why would I need it? It's perceived as a safe country and there's no need for these products. But then again, if you go to markets like Ireland, where there is high penetration, you can also see impacts of something like the media can have, where there are often articles where they say, you know, the crime statistics in your area are this high and it's 2% higher than last year. And at the end of the article say, one good way to deter burglaries is to have a professionally monitored security package, and these are, for instance, the companies that offer it. So which is almost an info commercial rather than an actual article. And you can see a lot of these things have an impact on the perceived value of monitored security.
And one thing, the way we use these numbers actually is also to estimate the future penetration of IP or connected home security, because there is, on average, I think, the replacement of your security system at home every 15 years or so. So it's likely that between 5 and 10% of all the security customers will need to replace their system every year. And now security companies want to offer more connected, more interactive solutions, and therefore that has a big impact on the size of the market today.
Yeah, and we had one comment from the audience as well, which is a good point, that in Germany also there is the resistance to kind of data gathering, and the idea of personal privacy is a big issue. So these kind of professional monitoring solutions were also seen as too intrusive, which is a good point, and we came across that with some of the interviews with industry players as well.
Yeah. So in terms of the same graph for security companies in Europe, the focus level of these companies are really to grow their connected security, their customer base around security, because they see that connected home offers them an opportunity to grow their customer base. Because currently people are not really willing to pay 40, 50 euros a month for professionally monitored security. But when you add the interaction with the app, with notifications, etc., then customers see more value and therefore are more willing to pay. So the market is generally growing. And therefore, all these companies here are focusing on growing their customer base. And now when we think about home automation or home energy management, companies like Verisure, for example, in the Nordics, already offer smart plugs, sometimes even remote climate control, etc. But what is really their interest in doing that? Why are they doing this? And are they pushing for more home automation or for energy management? And when we ask all these companies the question, they all, or almost all, answer, well, no, what we really want to do is to grow our customer base. And home automation and to a lower degree energy management can sometimes help secure a customer. Because if I'm a customer and say, oh, I do want a smart thermostat with my security system, then I have the product as a company to offer to my customer. And also the other reason is that if my security customer wants to add devices to its portfolio, you prefer to sell additional devices rather than your customer going to another company for having home automation or energy management. So it's more a nice to have for a security company rather than a must-have. And in terms of the growing focus, we do think that there will be more and more focus from security companies to push more for home automation and energy management, simply because that market is growing. There will be lots of money involved, and therefore they will do so. But after talking to most of these players, we don't see that happening within the next 1 year or two, because they are really focused on growing their customer base. So on the short-term impact, they will be quite low for the energy and home automation industry, but the longer-term impact and the size of their customer base could be quite dramatic for the rest of the industry. So we do recommend to follow what's happening in that space, and perhaps we, Delta, can help you monitor what's happening around the security side of Connected Home. So again, coming back to this graph in terms of the growing size of the security connected market and the energy market, we do think that there are big opportunities for collaboration between security companies and other companies. We do think that you have to monitor what security companies are doing, and vice versa. If you are a security company, you have to monitor what energy companies are doing, because again, there could be cross-selling through different verticals. So I think it's really key to understand what's happening in different areas of the connected home space, and more today as the number of players grow in the market.
And I think this is also good to mention that it's not just limited to the energy companies or security companies. Also players like telcos, we are consistently keeping an eye on what these are doing, and they're looking to play in both of these areas. So there are players like this, and also insurance providers and so forth. So there's a lot of players in the game.
Exactly, and in the next 12 months, we are really looking to monitor on an ongoing basis what all these players are doing, so to make sure that we know what's happening. So moving on to the conclusion and the next step of our Connected Home service. Basically, what the service provides is it's a subscription-based service. So you pay an annual fee, and you have unlimited access to all the previous materials that were published, and everything coming up in the next 12 months. As explained, we divide this in 3 areas, so energy, home energy management, and security and others. In terms of energy, what we do, we monitor what's happening in the energy space. We have an annual state of the open markets, which we are currently writing, and then we have country-by-country analysis. So we have over 10, 12 countries, I think, in Europe, where we provide ongoing review, forecast, player by player, of what's happening in these markets. And we also, every quarter or even more often, we provide an in-depth study on a particular topic, like security, like telcos, like the tech giants, like insurance, etc. And the key thing about the service is really the support that we provide to you. So we have as you could see in the beginning of the webinar, we have a team of experts that are always available on the phone to help you, assist you, provide workshops, presentations, web calls, etc. So we have this inquiry service that you can use as a subscriber as well. In terms of what we plan to deliver more specifically, so in October we published new country reports, Italy and the Nordics, which were following countries like Germany, France, UK, Netherlands, Spain, etc. In October and January 2017, we published this security study, which looked at one, the retail, and second, more the professional channels. So these are available for our subscribers and for you to purchase if you'd like to. And in the coming months, as I say, we are doing an update of our state of the market. We are doing an ongoing review of the service providers and the pricing, the business models to track really the impact of changing the propositions on the uptake for customers. We are doing more and more country reports, more updates. After March, we will start to study to look more specifically at how home energy management is impacting the connected home market. We also plan to look at topics like connected valve controls, more in depth about lighting, plugs, etc. So lots of topics, and basically the subscribers have an impact on what will be the future research for us in that service. And also, you might have received emails recently, but we have our annual Digital Energy Summit in 2 weeks' time from now. So this will be happening in Berlin on the 8th and 9th of March, so Wednesday and Thursday in 2 weeks. Day one, we'll be looking at the data analytics. So we are inviting a few companies like energy suppliers, data analytics companies, and HVAC manufacturers, and so forth to discuss about the potential of that market, how to create value, how to use data to better engage with customers, etc. And on day two, we will look more specifically at the connected home space, where we have companies like Hive, like O2, like Dixon's to talk about what's happening in the markets, what's the next step, what will really be the proposition that customers will adopt in the future, even how we can use data to boost connected home sales. These sort of topics will be discussed. So we might have a few places left. So if you want to register, you can still do it. Feel free to reach out to one of us today to do so. And that's it for this webinar. So I don't think we have more questions, so we can close off this webinar. So as I said at the beginning, this will be made available on YouTube. We can share with you the PDF of the slides if you want to. Feel free to send us an email. And we will keep engaging with you guys for the future to see if you have more questions, or if you have any feedback on the webinar and the studies, or if you have any other topics that you would like us to look at in the future. So thanks again for taking the time today. Really appreciate that. We hope to see you in Berlin. And for those who don't see in Berlin, hope to see you soon in the future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.